Hi there. How are you? I can't hear you.
I was muted. I was just trying to get rename myself and get the next people in.
I just realized that the draft, I just looked at your minutes and realized that that draft that I sent out needs to be revised. That's okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, we'll see how much we get to in that half an hour before all the hearings start. So,
But everything's being continued tonight, right? Or are we actually having a?
no,
Oh, we are having it.
We're possibly closing both of them.
Oh, we're on. All right.
Mm-hmm. How's everyone doing?
Hi, Liam.
Hey, Liam. So I don't believe that Robin can come tonight. I think this is what the one meeting. So we have Mary and Miriam here. So we can start. Well, I guess we have 1 minute to go.
Yeah, I think it's about to be 7, so we'll start then. All right, so it looks like it's 7 o'clock now. So we'll go ahead and open the April 22nd meeting of the Shutesbury Conservation Commission. Tessa, do you want to read the customary statement?
Yes. Following the governor's restrictions on public meetings, this meeting is being held virtually using zoom.com for remote participation only. The public may access it following the instructions on this meeting's agenda posted on the town calendar. If, despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide real-time access, the public can request a recording of this meeting by contacting the town clerk.
Great. But did folks have a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting?
Oh, just not really. They look okay. They look fine.
I took a look, and I think for the most part, the spirit of what happened is there. So I'm comfortable approving them.
Okay. I move. I don't have to hear from Mary.
Is she muted?
Yeah, I'm mute. Mary, you're muted.
There you go.
There she goes.
There you go.
We can't see you. You're lost in a glow.
I know. I'm going to have to find a better place to. Once sunset comes, it'll be wonderful. Like, let's see if I can figure out how to make this work better. That's what happens when you put all windows in.
We'll just wait for Mary to comment if she has any thoughts.
So the minutes look okay to me too.
All right, I'll move that we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote. David?
Aye.
Aye.
And Cregan, aye. All right, so we will move on to site visit follow-up and scheduling. So the first one on the list is 115 Pratt Corner Road. This was a building permit application for a garage bay, I believe.
No.
Um,
I submitted a site review.
Yeah, and there was you pretty much took a look around the property and there are no wetlands in sight, right? So issued a building permit?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not doing any ground disturbance, really. He's just putting in screwed piles for a carport. So there's not even going to be a spoils pile.
Great. Sounds simple and out of our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
All right. So 74 Pratt Corner Road, which is Miriam's house. Mary, did you have a chance to get out there today?
Yes, we did go out today. I do have the form here. I'll send the form in. I don't really see anything. It's not, the building that they're doing is minimal disruption, and it's not anywhere near the continuous stream, vernal pools. I didn't even really see anything to mark down on my piece of paper, except that everything looks good. Don went with me to help me out, so he can comment if he thinks he's, too. So
No, I agree with Mary.
Did you guys go look at my vernal pool?
we did. We did. We looked all over.
Did you find any eggs?
No.
No.
There
Darn.
were some. There were some.
Yeah, your husband. Yeah, he told me that you had it. That you did find some eggs there.
But I didn't find 5. I found 3.
Uh,
Did you guys notice where there's a cut?
Yes, we did see that too.
That was done without a permit.
Yes.
I had my husband put rocks back in place.
Yeah, we did see that, but so I don't see any reason not to approve that, or it's like I said, there's nothing there. It's not near anything that needs to be paid attention to, and looks good. The plan looks good. I did look at the plan too that you sent. Thank you for sending it. The plan looks good.
Okay, great.
So go ahead and issue that one as well then.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will do that. Probably tomorrow. I don't know how late this meeting's gonna go.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully not too late. Anyway, let's move on to Southbrook project site visit. So we talked about May 2nd, and we talked about a time, which is 1 p.m., but we didn't talk about a location. So I think we should just settle on a location quickly, and then we can pass that information on to Robin as well. I don't really know the best access point for Southbrook. I'm not sure if other folks do have a good sense of that.
At the bottom of the road where the boat ramp is, the trail lets out right there.
Okay, so meeting at the boat ramp would make the most sense.
On Randall Road.
Randall Road.
Okay. Sounds good. So we'll meet there at 1 p.m. on Sunday, May 2nd. And Philip Parker, the gentleman who's interested in building mountain bike trails on the property, said he's willing to join us to show us where he flagged the potential trail. So we won't just kind of be bushwhacking looking for it.
Well, we're going to probably, okay, that'd be great.
Yeah. So, I mean, so hopefully we can get a chance to hike the trails without Philip, but I think it would be helpful to walk the flag line as well. So maybe I'll propose meeting up with him a little bit later into the visit, maybe like 1:30 or 2, if that sounds good.
Yeah. Did you guys see the photographs that Janice Stone sent?
Of the stone structures? Yeah, I remember looking at them during a meeting a few weeks ago. So it would be good to see those as well.
Yeah, those are just some that Janice found, but there hasn't been a systematic survey. So that's something that the Historical Commission's talking about, trying to organize.
But definitely that's a good thing to keep in mind when we are out there. If his new proposed trail goes by a sensitive area, whether it be wetlands or historical, definitely we can keep an eye out for that.
Any stone features.
Yeah.
So hopefully the flag line just doesn't go by any of that stuff, and we feel interested in going forward with it, but we'll see what happens. All right, so sounds like that's all taken care of for now. So let's move on to new items and updates. First thing on this list is the tree cutting policy. We talked a little bit about this at the last meeting, and I believe some community members are here to talk about that. It looks like Tracy's here, and Leslie. Is Leslie here for that too?
So if you want to mute yourselves.
Yes, I'm here for that too.
Great. Hello.
Hi.
So just to give you a rundown of kind of where we are at now, most of the members of the Shutesbury Conservation Commission have only been on the commission so I've been on for about 1.5 years, and Robin's been on a little longer. And the tree cutting policy that we inherited from our predecessors, who are no longer with us, at least on the commission, basically was that if somebody was going to cut a tree in the buffer zone, we would pay a site visit to that property, look at the trees, and typically approve the tree cutting as long as they leave the stump in. And as long as it doesn't seem like it's going to damage the bank or anything like that. But after we received some concern from folks around the lake, we reached out to DEP and asked them about what is the best practice for tree cutting in the buffer zone. And it was recommended to us that we require more paperwork. So going forward, what we're going to be doing is asking for a request for determination of applicability for any tree cutting within the buffer zone, and that includes the lake.
Can I go? I don't want to interrupt you, Liam, but.
Yeah, sure, sorry.
So I was one of the people who I sent an email to Tessa and was planning on, I was going to be there a couple of weeks ago, but I got a vaccine appointment. So
do we have that email?
I don't know, but I did. Tessa passed on to you the Lake Wyola Association bylaw. I only sent one page that was relevant to Conservation Commission. And there's more bylaws, but they wouldn't, necessarily be relevant to you. But the reason that I did that is that, so I'm just going to give you a little brief history of the Lake Wyola Association. It came into being in the 50s. It was a social club that filed as a fraternal order. In the mid 2000s, a group of the board members, a few board members, my understanding is from someone who was on the board at that time that it was a recommendation from Bill Elliott, who's the former Board of Health chair, who did a lot with conservation and used to help get grants and so forth for projects over here. He's recommended that they become a 501c3 charitable organization so they could broaden their income base fundraising. That happened. It happened in a little bit of a weird way, some controversy around it, but long and short is that there were people that were mad that they did it, and then they went and tried to get out of it, but that wasn't possible because the IRS made it retroactive to 1952. So it's a nonprofit charitable organization. They own all the roads over here and the beaches. And it's run mainly by people who only come here in the summer, who have family history, and they're not, it doesn't appear to be very interested in being an environmental organization. I'm just going to leave it there. So many of us have become year-round. There's many year-rounders here. I moved here after all this. I came in right after all this craziness and really, was raising a family, wasn't really very involved. But then I did become a board member to pay my dues, and also became a roads committee co-chair because realized that there was no roads committee, nor an environmental committee, by the way. So anyhow, they do not follow the rules. And it's sort of, I think really the situation is that there's folks that want to hold on to the way it was when they were kids in the 50s, understandable. It was just a summer resort type area, but it's now becoming, at least at this point, we're about 50% year round. We have no road maintenance agreement with them, nor do we have any real control over things that they do. And so I'm reaching out to you all to hope that you can start enforcing the Conservation Commission rules so that they have to at least adhere to some environmental things. Because one of the problems that we run into as well is that they will, one of the reasons they wanted to get out of the fraternal order piece was because there was just a lot of cronyism and so forth going on, and it's still happening. So trees get taken down by neighbors who don't want the trees there. The LWA says, go ahead, you pay for it. There's no insurance. There's, so six trees have come down on that one beach in the last 3 years.
This is East Beach, right?
East Beach, yes. And some of them within 100 feet, some of them beyond. But the other piece that I was hoping the Conservation Commission could start to pay to use is the full Wetlands Protection Act, which there is more than just the 100-foot mark, because when you're dealing, this is my understanding from someone who lives at the lake who works in conservation, who explained to me that because the 100 feet from the lake is affected by the 200-foot mark, that it really needs to be looked at as a broader ecosystem. So, you know, if it just stops at the 100-foot mark, I'll tell you what happens over here is the Lake Wyola Association just says, we can do whatever we want past this part. And it creates problems. The other, you know, the other piece of it is that it all, like one thing that somebody does, the properties are so close, you know, one thing that somebody does on their property, if it violates, you know, the Wetlands Protection Act, but they're not looking at it because it's past the 100-foot mark and nobody's paying attention, then it creates all kinds of drainage issues, and you can see how that can affect septics and wells, and, you know, and there's lots of things like that going on. So I know you're all volunteer. I get it. I really, really do. But I think that now that this is becoming more of a year-round community, you know, we all over here think of ourselves as Shutesbury residents. We don't think of ourselves as Lake Wyola Association people. But that's sort of, there's bad blood between the town and this area, but many of us over here want to see that changed. So one of the things you will notice in those bylaws is that we're supposed to be working directly with town entities. And that needs to, so that's what I'm sort of looking for. The other thing that I had asked for, and then I'll stop, is that it's very difficult for us when trees are coming down, because somebody will just show up and start, you know, the trees are coming down, you're leaving for work and here's the crew. And there's no permission, you know, you go over and ask, and it's very awkward because sometimes it's a contractor that's not there. I don't know if it's their business. That's the, you know, should a contractor know that they shouldn't be taking trees down within 100 feet of the lake without permission from a conservation? I don't know.
They should.
Well, they act like they don't. So, but we're put in a very awkward position. And that's why I'd sort of wondered if there's a way, just like with, you know, a building permit that you have to post, if they're, you know, they have to post that or be required to be able to produce it.
Well, you mean posted at the site?
I don't even know. I mean, that was, or at least be able to produce it and say, here it is. I mean,
yeah,
they do an RDA.
Yeah, so Tracy, an RDA, they're not required to post for an RDA, but in that case, there would be documentation with the town and the state that they have permission to do it. And that's kind of why we decided it would be for the best and more in line with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act regulations to actually require an RDA within the 100-foot buffer zone. Unfortunately, I don't think we can really do anything outside of the buffer zone unless it affects the buffer zone itself. So if there's some sort of contamination or, you know, something gets into the buffer zone that shouldn't be there from tree cutting, then we have jurisdiction. But before that, we really don't. And it's kind of just a flaw in a sense of the regulations because it doesn't really take into account the whole ecosystem as a holistic thing. But that's kind of where we are with things right now.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad that you reached out to the DEP and you're going to take it that step further, because I guess it used to be that way.
Can I ask a question? I'm wondering, you know, what I'm hearing from you, Tracy, is that, you know, even if we firm up our policy, the problem is that there may be people who are unaware of this being a requirement. And of course, if we don't hear about something, then we can't enforce anything or, you know, we can't follow up. So I'm wondering, you know, should we maybe consider, I'm thinking of two things. One is maybe having a meeting, you know, inviting some members from the Lake Association to come and talk about this, or whether perhaps you do need, you know, consider having an environmental committee that might liaise with us.
So there is supposed to be an environmental committee. It's supposed to be an environmental organization, but that's one of the problems is this organization still is predominantly run and very difficult to get your way in by people who are just summer folks who don't want you all to be in their business. They'll literally say that. I'm not talking about just residents, you know, most of the people that, you know, residents will often do the right thing. I'm talking about the Lake Wyola Association itself. This is their beach. It's a beach that we pay annually to be able to use it, and they're cutting down the trees for the neighbors. And so it's, you know, yes, there should be an environmental organization that's liaising with you. And that's probably going to be a while in coming to make that happen, because liaising with you means that you then are involved in the business of the Lake Wyola Association, and the history there, I guess, is pretty. They've viewed themselves as being separate from the community at large, and now there's this sort of 50-50 push-pull going on, because many of us who live here year-round now are very concerned about the health of the lake. We're also the ones who are taking care of things that happen throughout the rest of the year. Road washes out, you know, everything. So we're, you know, it's probably going to be a while before things change, but Linda Scott comes every year to the annual meeting that's in the summer, because they still run it like it's a summer thing, and asks everybody to take a brochure and encourages everybody to do the right thing. And the biggest violator is the literal Lake Wyola Association that owns the roads, the beaches, and some other properties here, and is the environmental organization who pays no taxes as a result of that.
So if they're doing repairs on roads that have washed out, aren't they supposed to be filing with us if they're within 100 feet?
Well, yes. Yes.
Yeah, they should be. And that's something that, well, this is more Penny Jakes, the last chair of the commission, was often very concerned about just making sure people weren't adding more impervious surface to the lake area. So like impervious surface is anything that, you know, will cause more runoff into the lake. So if somebody was increasing the footprint of a house, she'd often ask for some sort of mitigation for that. And so in one case, it was an infiltration trench, and that was on the west side of the lake. That would help kind of mitigate some of the increased runoff. And that's another thing that we've thought about as we're going.
You need to go out in a kayak or canoe and go around the edge of the lake and look for the pipes that are sticking into the lake, avoiding the mitigation systems and putting them deep enough down they hope you don't see it. I know exactly where you're talking about. That's where I live. And, you know, those are the types of things that go on, and they're, you know, I mean, I have to live with these people, so I'm not going to get, you know, into names and so forth, but I just would strongly suggest that you do that.
Yeah, and if you see anything you're concerned about, feel free to let us know as well, and we can maybe set up a site visit.
Photographs would probably be helpful.
Yeah.
If they can be kept anonymous.
I would appreciate it if someone would call the town tree warden once in a while about the roads, the trees being cut down on inside of town roads. Recently, the Concom reviewed some tree cutting that was done on a town road, and I didn't find out until the actual Concom meeting that the town DPW had done the work. I then found out that other contractors have been working steadily all winter long, cutting down trees in various roads around the lake. I don't have jurisdiction around your dirt roads. They're privately owned, but the town roads, I would post those trees and you'd have an opportunity to address them being cut down.
Are you the tree warden?
That's me.
Oh, I would love your information. I didn't even know there was such a thing.
It's on the town webpage.
It is, oh, okay. So all right. Okay. Good to know. Very good to know. So you have, now here's the thing that's a little bit confusing, and I think it needs to get some clarity. They're private roads, but they're owned by a 501c3 charitable organization. It's not a homeowners association. They would like you to believe that it is. Does that make a difference?
The Lake Wyola Association has the control over the road maintenance, right, and they use that same permission to cut trees down.
Yes.
I think that's, well, my opinion doesn't matter. I don't think that is the correct procedure. And what Liam has told you about the RDA, I really think addresses this matter. It allows for a process.
Yes, the problem is that they sweep in with the contractor and the tree's coming down before you're, you know, before you can even call Conscom. And it's an after the fact, but I think if you all were to pursue the after the fact fining, then it may make a difference, because that's the general attitude. We'll get it down before anybody even shows up here and apologize later.
Well, I'm wondering if again, having some conversation with someone in the on the board, or having them come to us about that this is the requirement and there could be enforcements if they don't follow it. Maybe that would be an enticement for them to be more careful. But what?
That would be, yes, I'm saying yes. That would be great.
Seems based on what you're saying, it seems like we should do that.
Chair Emily Stockman has her hand raised.
Oh.
Like a symbol. I don't know if
cool.
It was an accident or.
It looks like it might be down now, but.
Oh, okay.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I wasn't, I'm here this evening for some other agenda matters, but if I may, I thought I would chime in. My company was involved in a wildlife habitat assessment of the lake a few years ago. And that was an assessment that was provided to the Conservation Commission. So I believe you have that in your files. And if I can certainly go back and look, but one of the observations that we had made was the number of discharge points, pipes that were leading directly to the pond. And I believe we did include some photo documentation of that. But I know that the commission has changed some members. And so I just wanted to let you know that you probably have that in a file. I think it might've been 2019.
Oh, that wasn't long ago.
Yeah, I think Robin, my first meeting was December 2019, so it was slightly before my time. But thank you that's great to know that we have that documentation. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah. Could we
work on locating that?
Yeah, and recirculate it. I mean, do we want to consider if looking at those discharge pipes, not since they were brought to our attention 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think so.
I think we should
go for a kayak trip. I have a lot of kayaks. We could do a Lake Wyola kayak trip.
Because my guess is there's more pipes than were observed at the time that was done.
I have 10 kayaks.
Yeah, we were fortunate. We visited the lake during 2 different times. So we were there when there was a drawdown. So there was a lot more visibility before the water came up. So I'll go through my files as well, but I believe there are some photos that the commission already has.
Aren't they doing a drawdown now?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that
it's back up again.
Because it's April 1st is when around April 1st is when they start the refill. So I would think
it's back up again.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary's on the lake. She can tell us.
So just because I'm a newbie, if we investigate this and we see that there's improper discharge pipes, what happens next?
If there's evidence of an issue that it's harming the lake, then you can use an enforcement order.
So we have to have evidence that it's harming the lake, or just evidence that it's an unapproved drainage into the lake?
Depends on what is allowed and what isn't. I mean, so that might be something we'd have to go back to DEP with.
You have to get DEP to look at the sediment load that was coming out of the pipe.
Exactly. If I could just step in here just real quick and add to that. The drainage systems along the roads are, they're not all, you know, they're done a lot by past residents, and they've done a pretty good job on many of them, but the road maintenance is very poor. The roads haven't been graded in terms of like an overall grade. I don't think since I've been here. Sections have been done. We have 5 miles of roads here. So basically what happens is they put a pile of hard pack sometimes it's hardpack, sometimes it's, you know, lower grade, down at the end of each road. And we are supposed to fill in the potholes manually, which of course, as soon as it rains, everything that's put in the pothole goes into the drainage ditches. And if there is a pipe, you know, there's some pseudo catch basins that really aren't designed properly. So they're not catching anything. It's just basically a direct flume into the lake with the sediment. I can send you, as a matter of fact, a slideshow that I did where on Great Pines Drive, which is really in bad shape, where a guy had to put in a septic bypass pipe, and everybody then decided that would be a good place to send all their water. And so the entire road, Lake Drive and Great Pines coming down, is all going to his septic bypass. And I have a video of the sediment truckloads dumping into the lake. This was something that the Conservation Commission was dealing with several years ago, and that the Lake Wyola Association said that they were going to address, and they have not done so. So whenever a heavy rain hits, I'm imagining, you know, yesterday that was going on. So there's some issues over here. You know, if you need to broaden the size of the Conservation Commission, you know, I think you could probably get several more people that would help out from over here.
Great. Yeah. Well, that sound, if you could share those resources, the PowerPoint with us, that would be great. And I hate to cut off this discussion, but we have a hearing at 7:30, and it's 7:30 now. So let's stay in touch about this issue or these issues. But for now, it sounds like maybe reaching out to the association about the tree cutting policy might be worthwhile, and that we do have some concerns about some of these other things that we discussed.
Okay, and I'll get that to Tessa.
Yes, I will. Yep, and I will circulate it. And if there's time between, we have a hearing at 7:30 and a hearing at 8:30. If there's time in between, if the people who didn't get a chance to speak, who are on the call, if they are able to stay on for later, we'll try and hear from you as well.
I super appreciate your attention. I really do. I can tell this is a really good group. The last group was very good too, but I think they were tired. Okay, bye.
Thanks so much, Tracy. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for the ANRAD at lot ZF15. This is the Leverett West parcel. We have Maria Furstenberg and Emily Stockman here to discuss this with us. So should we just go through the comments that Emily has? I think Maria, you addressed most of them already, correct?
Yeah, I did not get a chance to update the drafted findings that I did earlier, so we'll have to align that with what the latest map shows. But
yeah, so after my last peer review comment letter, we received revised plan set from TRC, and I have had an opportunity to review that set. The majority of the comments made in the peer review letter had been thoroughly addressed. There were only a couple, just a few, mostly drafting issues that were remaining. So I'm just going to take those maybe one by one because it's not many to go through, and I will address the comment, and then Maria, maybe you want to tell us that it was fixed.
Yeah, Emily, do you actually want me to share my screen that has the plans that I sent to you?
Yeah, why don't you? Because I think they just came in, and that would probably be beneficial if Tessa can give you that.
Yeah, that way when you're talking about it, I can show everyone where it is.
You should have permission.
Okay, it's all yours, Emily.
So Maria, I was thinking that we would start with sheet 3 of 8. When I reviewed the previous plan set, I noted that there were 2 flags that were labeled 34. And when we had been on the site visit with Mr. Russo, he had made some adjustments in that area and actually took new GPS locations. So my hypothesis was that maybe one of those points was an old point and simply needed to be removed. Maria, what did you find?
That's correct. It was a layover from the older version of the plan that just hadn't been taken off. So there was another 34 that was kind of right here where my cursor is. And that was the old flag 34. So we just took that off.
Maybe you could, so I'm happy with that adjustment. That's what I suspected the issue was. If you could zoom into the legend, we could go through, there were a couple of comments from the last letter that hadn't been addressed. One was making sure that the flags were labeled bank flag or mean annual high water line, depending on their placement, either along an intermittent stream or a perennial stream. The previous plans that just had one designation for a general stream flag. And we wanted to make sure that we had the appropriate vocabulary under the regulations and the subsequent ORAD. So that's been changed. You can see that we have, it looks like a light blue and a dark blue.
Yeah, I think one is blue and one is purple. We also have, well, those are the flag colors. We also, this part had been corrected, but the connecting lines between the flags, we have a dark blue and a light blue for perennial versus intermittent. And that was present. It was just that we had forgotten to split the flag types for the actual flags themselves.
And then the other remaining comment was just to make sure that the site plans were addressing protection under the local bylaw. So as we're all very familiar, under the Massachusetts regs, we have a 100-foot buffer zone, which is a jurisdictional area, but under Shutesbury's bylaw, it's protected as a resource area. So we just want to make sure that that's clearly reflected in the plans and test it in the ORAD as we have been doing.
And can I ask a quick question? Because I'm looking on, I have a map that's dated April 8th, I think.
Yes, and this one that I'm sharing is dated today.
Okay, because
I didn't
take down
know that Emily had more comments until this morning when I got an urgent email from Liam.
Yeah, sorry, Maria.
Yeah, so
there are hard copies at the town hall.
Okay.
So yeah, Miriam, these comments that we're going over now are the comments I had from the April 8th version that have now been addressed. So we're just completing the circle. The other thing, Maria, if you wouldn't mind zooming out maybe on the first page to show the overall study area. The April 8th version was showing delineation flags that had been placed outside of the study area. And the study area as presented by the applicant is the subject of the ANRAD. So to just sort of keep the paperwork clean, my recommendation was to remove those flags from the plans. Also, in some instances, like with wetland 3, we didn't review the westerly wetland boundary because it wasn't projecting a buffer zone into the subject area and it was outside of the subject area. So to just keep it clean and avoid any confusion, we recommended that those flag numbers be removed. Or if they're still on the plan, that the commission be clear that they were only approving resource area boundaries and jurisdictional areas within the study area.
Great, yeah, and I think that in Tessa's drafted ORAD findings, because obviously the flags are still on the plan, that we're just gonna say that we're not approving those flags. I think that's generally the plan.
Yes, that's what we're requesting. So to kind of give this a little bit more context, Originally, we had identified W3 as an isolated wetland, and it turns out that it's not, because during the review, we found a culvert, or yeah. I think you and Greg and Emily found a culvert because I wasn't there.
I think Emily found the culvert.
And this is sheet 5, I'm just going to go to sheet 5 really quickly. The culvert that was found is actually outside of the study area. So I thought it was a little clearer because in this case, the study area is a piece of the larger parcel. So these flags are still all on Cole's owned land. We understand they weren't reviewed, so they're not going to be approved as part of the ORAD. But we thought it made a little bit more sense, since that's our justification for why this wetland is a bordering vegetated wetland instead of an isolated wetland on here, to kind of have that continuity with the culvert shown. There are a couple of flags along the eastern edge here that are just barely outside of the line. I suspect that when they were barely outside of the line that they were pretty much looked at. But in all cases, they are flags that are not projecting buffer zone onto the study area. So, you know, it ultimately doesn't matter to us if you approve those specific flags. There was an original comment that had asked us to remove certain flags associated with stream 1. And we did remove those because they were basically on the east side of the stream, outside of the study area. So they were, you know, completely unrelated to the buffer zone. That said, the northeastern reach of the perennial stream that was flagged, those flags were reviewed. They were hung as part of the review specifically to accurately set riverfront area. So given that they are on Cole's parcel, we'd like those flags to be included in what's approved, because they're what's being used to set the riverfront area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's reasonable, since in this instance, Cole's does own the surrounding property to the north. And we did, Liam and I together with Greg reviewed those flags in the field. And they are important because they are defining the mean annual high water line, which is then projecting the protected 200 riverfront.
What page sheet is that on then?
This would be on 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Because when I was drafting it, I was excluding anything that was over the line. So that's as important for me to know.
Yep, it's just on sheets 2 and 3, and it would be flag numbers 21 or 1 through 21 is really what we're concerned about including along stream 2.
Full. So, okay, full flags 1 through 21.
Well, yeah.
Seems like the whole thing is
the whole thing, because 1 through 21 is off the property, but we want to keep going into the area.
Yeah,
right.
And I think
the ones that were already included.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
But I guess you're right that 29 through 32 don't really project riverfront area.
Right, they don't, and my understanding is that they maybe weren't reviewed because of that. But everything, I mean, I would include 29 because it's like right on the line there, but everything east of 29 we would like to have included because that's what's throwing riverfront area onto the parcel.
Mm-hmm. So 1 through 21 and 29.
Yes, please. In terms of flags that are technically outside of the study area on the plans.
Mm-hmm.
So actually that would be just 1 through 29, right? That would be everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could clarify it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you to all of you for working with us on that. It's a balance between clarity on the plans about why something is called what it is versus, you know, trying to keep things clean too.
So that was my final comment based on the April 8th plan. So in my opinion, as the peer reviewer, all my comments have been addressed, and an ORAD with you know, the specifications that we worked through in the past, Tessa, you know, could be reviewed and voted on by the commission this evening, in my opinion.
I would tend to agree. Do other commissioners have questions?
We've got a couple of butters here. I'm wondering if we want to take any public comments.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I just wanted to check if the commission had any comments or questions before we move down to that.
I don't.
I don't.
Right. So yeah, like Miriam said, if anybody from the public wants to talk about this or ask questions, feel free to now.
I have a question, and I'm impressed. I don't understand a thing we've been talking about. I have a general concept. My question is sort of broader. When you talk about the study area, I'm assuming that doesn't include the potential access roads. We don't know, I don't think we have an actual proposal for the location on this site. I may be wrong. Do we have a proposal for where the display would be located?
Not at this time.
Okay. And then, so that access roads would be a question in my mind. And if they are coming to the site, does the commission then get to look at that area to understand whether it's of concern or interest?
We would only get involved if there was a notice of intent, if they were doing work in the buffer zones. Otherwise, it would go straight to the planning board. So
if there was a proposed water crossing for the access point, then there would be paperwork that would go through the commission. But if there's no proposed access or work within a wetland or the buffer zone, then we probably will not have any comments or participation in the project.
Just if you don't mind, I see one potential access off Montague Road coming in through what looks like 3 here and crossing over interesting areas. I assume you'd be involved then with such a crossing.
That is an example of something that would certainly require a notice of intent. But one of the things that we are required to do, and like with this picture as an example, if we came to the commission with a notice of intent like that, they would deny us and say, you have a way to get to this property without disturbing wetlands, you have to use that. Which would be accessing from Leverett Road from the south. Okay. So that was a very good example of what would trigger going in front of the commission. But in this case, I would personally be extremely surprised if that's how they wanted to access the site, because it's very wet over there.
Right.
You should not want to do that. It is not worth anyone's time and energy to try to do that.
Right.
Yeah, so Penelope, yeah, like Maria said, it is likely that the access point for any project would be from Leverett Road on tile 8 there. But that's not, unfortunately, not what we're here to discuss. We're basically just confirming the wetland boundaries.
Yep, understood. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone else have questions?
I have a quick question. Well, I guess I would ask the commission if a notice, when you put out an order of conditions for this, could you please ask Mass Fish and Game for a memorandum of understanding that this project area is within 100 feet of a cold water fishery? It says, when you're delineating these boundaries, you're not really looking at what natural heritage would have to say about development going in this close to the stream. And in fact, most of the area that looks like that will get developed is not within the jurisdiction of the Concom at all. So I would just ask that that be included in the order of conditions. As an abutter, I checked with Fish and Game, Connecticut River Valley Fish and Game, the people who are in charge of this, and they were never notified as abutters that this project, this ANRAD, was being performed.
And they should have been, is that what you're saying?
You're supposed to notify all the abutters.
I'm guessing it's because they hold a conservation restriction rather than on the land.
That's my guess too. And as a conservation easement, it may not carry the same sort of, they may have nothing to say about it. That sometimes happens with natural heritage. You send them a letter and ask for a memorandum of understanding, and they say, well, we have no jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's possible that they might not, but I mean, we could even potentially acknowledge in the ORAD that stream is. Are we talking about the perennial stream that runs north of the
just the perennial stream? Yeah. You really can't talk about any of the areas that you're not discussing tonight. It's only the waters that are being delineated, the resource areas that you're looking at.
Yeah.
I think that could be worth including in the ORAD findings.
What would we be saying? That
you would ask for the notice of intent to include a memorandum of understanding from Fish and Game.
Well, I was more thinking that we would just acknowledge that this is a natural heritage identifies the stream as a cold water fishery in the ORAD.
Same thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Great. Any other questions, comments?
I just want to respond about the abutters. It is policy that we use the abutters list provided by the assessor's office for our notifications, and we absolutely notified everyone that was on that list. So I suspect that what Liam mentioned earlier about them possibly having an easement as opposed to actually being the landowners is probably what caused them to not show up on that list.
Yeah, because well, they do hold the easement, the conservation easement on the 2,000 or it's a 2,000 or so acres right next to this property, but they don't own the land, so it would make sense that they weren't notified. All right. Any other? Sorry.
We're also fine with having a note in the findings that Roaring Brook is identified as a cold water fishery.
Okay, great. Awesome. Any other comments from the public, from the commission, from the wetland scientists present? All right. Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we close the hearing for the ANRAD at ZF 15, the Leverett West parcel.
Second that.
All right, roll call vote. David?
Aye.
DeFont?
Aye.
And Cregan, aye. All right.
So it doesn't look like anyone's still here for the tree cutting conversation. Does it make sense procedurally? So I have the draft of the actual ORAD form and then the findings. Does the commission want to address the findings first? And then, because the ORAD's pretty straightforward, I just will have to correct the revision date. So does it make more sense to first tackle the findings?
I think so.
Okay. Then if Marie is willing to stop screen sharing, so I don't know if I can take...
Absolutely, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I forgot I was still doing that.
I think I can take over, but I haven't had to do that before.
I think you can too, but it's nicer when I remember and just give it back to you.
All right. So does it need to be bigger?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Okay. Okay. So this is language that the first one is language I took straight from the last ORAD we issued. and I'll just, the revision now is today. Here. And so this is saying that if a notice of intent comes back, that the flags need to be refreshed. So this and this one was corrected. So this is that duplicate number one, but that was corrected. So
we are approving some of them.
Right. Should I say, so do we want, I guess there's two ways we can do this. I can either add and accept, or we could correct it down here and just have those flags not mentioned.
Yeah, I don't like the double negative. The does not exude. It's a little confusing, I think.
You could also say that you're not accepting wetland and intermittent stream that's outside of the study area. That would also.
Yeah, that would simplify it.
But maybe make it clear that we do approve the perennial stream.
Right, you can say it that way. It might be a little simpler.
Yeah.
You'll just eliminate this?
Well, you would say the commission does not approve intermittent stream and wetland flags outside of the study area. And then in a second sentence say that perennial stream flags outside of the study area are approved.
And then same number or a separate finding?
Yeah, same number.
Okay. Outside, or should I just leave it like that?
Outside the study.
I would say outside the study area as depicted on the final plans. And to be consistent with the plans, I would recommend that you change perennial stream to the abbreviation for mean annual high water.
Okay.
Yes, that's fair. And in the prior sentence, instead of saying intermittent, you'd want to say bank.
Final plans.
Okay, so this is where it gets complicated. So the first one, and so do we want to keep it on site for the buffer zone?
I think that you want to use the term study area because that's how it's presented on the ANRAD.
Now you get rid of map too.
I think you want to say approves the 100-foot buffer zones within the study area. I think that that's actually how you want to say that.
So, and just for Maria and Emily, just double check that I'm using the right terms when I'm referring to the different streams. Is S1 the intermittent?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Just make sure. Okay. So then we were just talking about how I need to include the flag. So would that just be 1 through 31 at this point?
S1 is the intermittent stream, I think.
Intermittent
Oh, the
stream.
Perennial. So yeah, so it's the next one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so in which case, this, and then, and this would be mean high water instead.
Yeah.
Is there another word I need in there?
You can use flags. You could say flags that you're approving all the flags. Yep.
Okay.
Right, and that should be flags 1 through 29 is what we had specifically talked about.
Oh, this is in the property though, but you do want to add 29.
Okay.
Or in the study area.
For the intermittent stream flags, I noticed that I think some of the flags might be missing. So they said there's 140 to 141 and then 146 to 148.1. When I was looking at the plan, I thought it would just be 143 to 152 are all within the study area. So I just wanted to confirm that.
I'd have to look back at, this is why I can't screen share.
It's hard to switch back and forth.
Two things at once.
You're correct. I'm looking at the plans and that is correct.
Okay.
That 143 through 152 are all continuously within the study area.
Yeah.
It's here. I start 143 here.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes right to 152.
Yeah.
This is fine. Okay. And we're down here. And first, I'm spelling it like the board because I'm on a board.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Type in board. Oh, there we go. Down here. So this language. Okay, wait. I have to change this over. Never mind. Sorry for the tedium. How does that number 3 look at this point?
Just looking at the flags.
Yeah. It's easy to do it wrong.
Definitely easy to miss them. 37. Okay, I think, yeah, 3 looks good, or 4 looks good to me, which is the bordering vegetated wetland. The first W1.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those look good to me too.
Okay. And all of this is correctly under state also, right?
The state and the Shutesbury, yes, yeah. That is correct. Yep.
Okay. And then so the only thing I had under the Shutesbury bylaw is that the buffer zones are approved by the commission and protected as resource.
Right, and per Dawn's request, we were going to add a finding that Roaring Brook is identified as a cold water fishery by wildlife.
What if I do? Nope. I was trying to make it good. I'm gonna have to do it like this. Copy this. It's not wanting to number remember correctly. Oops.
Before we do that, I'm sorry to detract from this sentence building, but I noticed that flags 13 through 15 for W3 should be in there too.
13
Oh, yes.
through 15.
Yep. And I think we should be all good on the flags.
Thanks for, no, it's important to check that. Thank you, Liam. Okay, so what is Roaring Brook? So Roaring Brook is the perennial is S2?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So the perennial stream S2, Roaring Brook. Yep.
Okay, so do we want to just start with oops.
It's a designated cold water fisheries resource.
Fisheries, sorry, fisheries.
And if you want the ID number, I have the specific ID number for it.
Okay.
It is CFR number or ID number 34 20 25 0.
Is that NHESP or?
It's Mass Fish and Wildlife does the designation.
Okay. Don, does that work for your concern?
That's it. That's all. Yeah.
Thanks, Don.
Okay. Are we set with these findings then?
I feel good about them.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Save that. It's bouncing around. Oh gosh. Okay. There we go. All right. So let me then screen share the ORAD. Which, yeah, this is the simpler part.
That's not a Shutesbury sound.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I can tell you're in Deerfield.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, that might have been me. There's a train that goes by my apartment that just went by.
You're in Lowell, right, Maria?
I'm actually in Westford, is where I really live. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
I just made the assumption you live right where you work.
There are certainly trains in Lowell. I'm not too far away from there, but I have my own special train where I live.
Nice.
Yeah.
For the final approved plans, Tessa, because the October submittal has been reworked, you don't need to cite that. You're going to want to cite completely the April 22nd, 2001 plans and by their title.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just looking at what that was. I pulled up the. So yeah, that's what. And I'll just correct that. I think I will have to correct on the top of the findings, the name of the.
And then with the wetland delineation maps, I like to include a notation that it's like sheets 1 through 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's figure 2.
Okay.
And then, but then above, make sure that you don't inadvertently say that you're approving the October revision. So that's got to get.
So you're saying that I don't even have to include like the range of, because this, the whole, the paragraph part wasn't revised. It's just the maps that were revised.
Yeah, but the narrative, like the narrative part calls out that the one wetland is isolated and that has changed.
Okay.
So, I mean, Maria, what are your thoughts on that? Ultimately, you need the final plans approved, right?
Right. I mean, for an ORAD, really the plans are what you're approving. The other stuff is just stuff that we give you up front as documentation to support. This is why we think this is where things are.
So it's better to just delete this part?
Yeah, I think that Emily has a point with respect to clarity, that it's probably best to just reference the final plan here that's being included.
Even though TRC did all that work with the supporting materials and I did all of that work reviewing it, it gets no credit at the end of the day. It's the final product, which is the final plan.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't sure how to go about that because of that, all that information at the beginning.
I think you have a typo in front of 2021.
Yes, there's an extra S.
Okay.
Oh no, it's down where you were.
Down under the modification.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
That's good.
I guess I'll be taking off Evan's name since she's not here. Moving everybody up. So, anything else? Feeling good?
Great job, Tessa.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. So I guess there could be a motion to issue it, right? At this point.
All right, I'll go ahead that we move, I move that we issue the ORAD for lot ZF15, the Leverett West parcel.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call vote. David?
Aye.
DeFont?
Aye.
And Cregan, aye. All right.
Thank you very much.
Until next time.
3 down, 2 to go.
Enjoy your evening, Maria.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay.
There's 2 left, right?
Yes, 2 of the coals. Yep.
Pratt South
Where's the
and
champagne?
Exactly.
Yeah. It does look like Leslie is still here. I'm not sure if she wanted to comment on the tree cutting policy discussion we were having earlier. Leslie?
Thank you. Thank you. I actually had chimed in and I've been in and out. I apologize for that. I was mostly concerned about the industrial solar project, which violates our solar bylaws. And so I couldn't really pay attention tonight because I was teaching. And I'm not sure if you addressed that or what you were just doing, but that's my concern.
So yeah, we were just dealing with the wetlands on one of the parcels that is likely gonna, be proposed as a solar project. But at this moment, we're just discussing the wetland boundaries and kind of coming to an agreement that will be legally binding and that will be shown on a plan as to where those wetlands are on the parcel. So definitely, if you're interested in, keep an eye on like when a specific project is proposed, and that'll likely go through the planning board unless there's a wetland crossing involved in the project, and it'll go through us again.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. I'm glad to hear that the planning board is also involved.
Yeah, they'll definitely be involved.
Perfect, thank you.
Great, have a good night.
You too, thank you.
Alrighty, so should we discuss ANRAD guidelines and policies?
I sent the draft, but then I looked at the minutes and realized I got a piece of it wrong because we had decided that, where is it? That we had decided for number 4 that the refreshing would be required if they had to submit a notice of intent. And I just said, I didn't do that. So I can change that and then recirculate it.
Okay.
So if they're not refreshed by the commission, the applicant shall refresh all flagging if a notice of intent, or with a notice of intent, or how do you want this written?
You could screen share it if you wanted. You should have that.
I could. All right. Well, we can try that. Hang on. Share screen to. Okay. All right. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So if wetland delineations change during and are not refreshed and flags are not refreshed by the close of the public hearing, the applicant shall refresh all flagging prior to submitting any notices of notice of intent. How's that sound?
It sounds good to me.
Okay. Because we can't stipulate what they're going to do if they're not coming back to us.
Yeah, which I think is a little bit silly in some ways, but because the flags should be up no matter what during any project.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like we can't really do anything about it based on what we've discussed.
Right. We might want to make sure that, I'm just thinking in terms of coordinating with other boards, we might want to think about communicating that to the planning board. That our understanding would be that would be in their jurisdiction, because they might want to set it up as a policy for any special permit applications that they would want them refreshed.
I think that makes sense. So maybe we could pass this on to them as the ANRAD policies that we've developed and just let them know about the stipulation about the flagging, that they should have it as a consideration going forward even if a project is proposed that won't go in a wetland.
Right, because they might not think about this, and then a special permit application would be submitted without, I'm sure that won't happen, but it could theoretically happen that the flagging wouldn't be refreshed, and then they'd be kind of stuck with it at that point and have to deal with it.
Yeah, since I should see if any projects come in.
Since you're the person.
Yes, I'm connected to the planning board too. I definitely think it makes sense to let them know if a project comes into one of the properties where it got really complicated, to just give them a heads up that the flagging numbering
is
confusing.
Let them know that if it comes before us, we're requiring this, but it'll be their responsibility, and they may want to set a policy as well or something.
Yeah,
we have a meeting on Monday, but I could bring it up as unanticipated business, actually.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, so does this look okay? And I'll change the date.
Yeah, I think it looks good to me.
Okay. Anything else we want to think about that we're not, oh, that's not what I wanted. Oh.
You know, it's tough being the one doing it.
Yeah, it's really hard
it's like the
to do it when
pressure's
you're being pressured. Yeah, if they're really watching. Okay. Okay, we've lived and learned. So I just added this information that we discussed about the notice of intent, and I just said should conform with, conform with the requirements. Did this all in a hurry.
Yeah, that looks good to me.
Okay.
Mary, do you?
Yep, looks good to me.
How about you, Don?
You did.
Looks like you got everything there. I think that's what people want to see is the consistency and the numbering of the flags.
And then the big change here is that we're asking for everything 10 days in advance.
Mm-hmm. And Maria said some commissions require 14, so we're actually being pretty nice.
We're being nice. Yes. So should we vote on this?
Sure.
So I'll make a motion that we accept the policies, the 422, 21, and red policies.
I'll second that, Liam Cregan. And we'll do a roll call vote. David?
Aye.
DeFont?
Aye.
And Cregan? Aye.
How do I unshare? Did I unshare?
I think you, you
what?
did.
I'm sorry, what?
You did
you're
a magic.
all set.
It's gone.
Okay, it's gone. All right, good.
Okay, so
commission minutes. Oh, sorry, Chair. I was just thinking in terms of we have a few minutes, and I assume it's not very long. There's an open space survey that Penny sent that actually is supposed to. Hopefully, it's not very long. They are wanting to review it, I think, tomorrow. So if the commission, if that was okay to do,
that's cool.
Okay, let me.
I did take a look at it, and it looked like it was more for individuals rather than organizations.
Oh, really? Okay. Because I thought she was asking.
I think what she was requesting is actually that we look at the survey to see if we have any thoughts on changes to be made to the survey
before it goes out.
So are they having a meeting about it tomorrow?
That makes more sense because I see now when I open up the survey deadline is Monday, June 21st.
Okay. Yeah, so I think at the next meeting they're going to be talking about approving the survey to send out to the public.
Okay.
And I did take a look at the survey. I had one comment, which is essentially it seemed like there was one question where you should have been able to select more than one answer and you couldn't. And I think they caught that. But it's a cool looking survey. It's really just trying to reach out to the public about what they value as far as open space in Shutesbury, what they already use, what they'd want to see used, things like that. It could be worth taking a look at. I'm not sure I want to look at it right now.
It doesn't sound like it. So it sounds like something I can just email to because I think it just went to you and I think it just went to Liam and I. So I can send it. I was thinking that I'd screen share it and we'd fill it out, but since it's more of a comment from the commission members, whether there should be anything added to the survey, I'll just email it to everybody. I guess, unless I guess it has comments tonight though. So if they're meeting tomorrow. So actually that's a good question. Would people have, I don't know what time they're meeting tomorrow, probably not till the evening. Would Miriam or Mary, would you want to do the survey or take a look at the survey and see if you have any comments?
I'll pass.
No. Okay. Well, then I don't even need to share it. And that's item. Okay.
Okay. So commission appointment update.
So I spoke to Becky today just to verify because when I, from what I had talked to her last about it, and she said actually the appointment will be at this coming meeting on the 27th. So this April 27th, the appointment will be on the agenda. It is not, I checked and it's not posted yet, so I don't have a link to share for that, but I asked Becky if it would be helpful for you as chair, Liam, to be there, and she said yes. And obviously Don and other members are gonna be there, but yeah.
Tuesday the 27th?
27th, yeah.
Okay.
You're available.
Do you know when it'll be discussed in the context of the meeting?
I do not. Like I said, I checked whether it was if the agenda was posted, and it has not been posted.
That's another MEMA emergency management meeting. They may only have a few minutes to talk about that.
Okay, so yeah, I should be able to attend. I don't see why not.
I'll be attending.
Okay.
I asked to put this on the agenda because what I wanted to propose to the commission in the event that the select board persists in not appointing Don over our recommendations, that we can still include Don as an informal kind of unofficial member of the commission. He can do everything except for vote. So if the commission decided, we could invite him on site visits and invite him to deliberate.
Yeah, I mean, I would be interested in that.
Yeah, I've offered that as a solution to the select board. I don't know what their deal is, honestly.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see kind of what's going on the 27th, and then we can decide from there. But I mean, I would be definitely open to, having you around for your expertise, both in matters of the tree warden stuff and ecological stuff. So I feel like you have definitely added a lot to our discussions.
I agree with that. I just don't think we should let them off the hook for not addressing the issue. So I mean, I agree, but
yeah. So I check my
calendar. I don't think we should be offering them an alternative. I think they should be addressing the issue.
Yeah, I don't think we should offer it as an alternative. I guess my hope would be that if they persist in saying no, that we'll wear them down over time. And if we come back to them and say, listen, Don's been here for 6 months and he hasn't murdered anybody. Could you please appoint him now? Maybe they'll say, okay.
Yeah. So I'll attend the select board meeting on Tuesday. I just had to check my calendar before saying it.
What time is it Tuesday? Sorry.
I am not sure. Like I said, it's not posted.
All right, I'll look it up. That's okay.
Could be 6. I think sometimes they're meeting earlier at 6 rather than at 7. And sometimes at 5. Other meetings I think have been posted as early as 5:30. So I'm not sure.
Just so you know, I shared this with Don, and this was not at my encouragement, but some people shared with me emails that they sent to the select board about this issue in support of Don being appointed. There were 2 or 3 people who've done that. So people who are observing that whole process, came to their own conclusions.
Good. Well, I do think we have a chance to get this last agenda item ticked off before we open the next hearing.
Okay.
So this is follow up at the planning board regarding the Wheelock Tract Solar Project annual reports.
Yes. So this is my item. It's on the agenda for their Monday meeting, I believe. Is that right, Tessa?
I can double check. I don't have it memorized, so I'm not sure, but I can check.
And I mean, this concerns me quite a bit. It concerns me because, as I emailed to you guys and to the planning board, there's 3 different parts of the special permit that they issued that address the issue of a wildflower meadow, including the requirement that they needed to continue working on developing vegetation over successive seasons and including that information in their annual reports. And then they have not produced any annual reports. And I think that project has been in existence. When did it go online? 2017? Okay, so 3-4 years now. I'm sure that the planning board will have its own reactions about this, but I was wanted to propose that we consider making a formal recommendation about this and send a representative to the planning board meeting to represent the planning board about this.
I do not see it on the agenda. I just checked.
Thought it was.
So it might have gotten lost in email.
Okay.
It was on a previous agenda, but
okay. Well, I'll send another email to the planning board just so Deacon knows. But I don't know what other people think about it.
So it's kind of in the planning board's court to get in touch with the solar developer to make this happen. Is that why we would want to go and kind of encourage it?
Really to encourage it and to give them a little bit of cover in requiring it. I mean, you know, sometimes I imagine that they feel a little like, oh, geez, we dropped the ball on this because they all forgot about it for 4 years. And then it came up this year. But I think, you know, it is a conservation related issue, and though we don't have jurisdiction, we can certainly advise them because one of the concerns had been back in the permitting was that if they wanted to try to amend the soil, there's the risk that there could be discharges into the wetlands if they were to bring in, you know, pH neutralizing or fertilizers.
Right.
All of that could easily get washed into wetlands. And so those are concerns.
The original design of the settling pond was different than the current design of the settling ponds. Now there's one less pond, and the sediment load that is carried downhill, the washout from the whole field is unchecked. They used wood chips to try to slow the flow of water, and the wood chips got buried in sediment. You know, it's really hard to grow wildflowers on bare soil.
Right. It's hard for me to know how they didn't end up having any discharges. One of the things that never happened was they never required in the special permit or conditions any kind of independent site monitoring. And I think you guys remember Janice talking about solar projects in Hadley where they have independent monitors that go out when there's storm events to make sure there's no discharges and that the detention system's working properly. So there hasn't been any independent monitoring of this for 4 years.
Gotcha.
I don't see what it would hurt for us to put in a request that they, for their annual report.
Yeah,
that they request them.
I think Mary's right, is that, you know, if you ask them for something specific for the planning board to act on.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing they could do is they could it's not too late for them to go back and condition a independent site monitor. They can do that.
Yeah, and I think that definitely going forward, if there's more projects, that should be something that is thought about. And I think, yeah, maybe it would be worth encouraging the planning board. You know, first, asking for the annual report might be more of a reasonable ask at first. And then if that happens, then we could maybe encourage a site monitor.
Well, they're not, I mean, it isn't going to be an annual report at this point because now they're going to have to summarize what they've done over the last 4 years, but
yeah.
It's okay. I think it's more the point that you're trying to make, that plus put in their minds that if they go forward, this is something they should be following up on.
What if we were to ask for a report including a plan going forward for how they intend to meet these conditions, so that we can review what their plan is, because then we might have more recommendations. We can also say that we'd like to recommend that they get an independent site monitor.
Yeah.
Because that would solve a lot of problems, because then the independent site monitor would have been submitting these reports all along.
What did the lady from Belchertown, I'm sorry, I've forgotten her name.
Erica Larner. Erica Larner.
What did Erica say about sedimentation of resource areas from the solar field?
That if it hits a jurisdictional area, then it becomes the commission.
Enforcement.
So that may be
commission can have.
I guess the thing was that she was saying is that, and this is kind of one of the ironies of the act, is that, or the regs, is until something touches a resource area, we don't really have a say.
Right. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't have a say, and we also we don't have the authority to require a site monitor. So we could say, there's a bunch of things we could say. We could say we would like to see the planning board ensure that the site is being monitored either by the planning board or by an independent monitor. We could ask if we could conduct site visits. That was certainly something within our purview. I don't know that any of us are excited about that idea.
Excited to go outside? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I went up there once. I thought it was interesting. I would go again.
But every time it rains?
Not every time it rains. I live a little far for that.
Yeah. I mean, I just wonder about like drafting a letter, and I'd be happy to come up with some sample language to say that we're concerned about this. We think that there needs to be some form of monitoring, and because we have no way of enforcing anything unless it's being monitored.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you're interested in drafting something, maybe you could bring it to the next meeting and we could discuss it.
Okay.
Especially because we're 5 past 8:30 now.
All right. Okay,
great. Well, thank you for bringing that up and for the initiative as always. I wish that I had as much energy as you.
So I will, that's all right. I will go to the planning board meeting, and I won't be representing the commission, but I can certainly tell them that we're talking about this and might come up with some recommendations.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and open the continued hearing for the ANRAD at lot H151. This is Mark Whiteman's parcel. And I believe Dan is here.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, thank you.
And Emily is here as well. So I think in the past we've tended to just go through Emily's comments, and I don't think there are a ton of them. So maybe we should just kind of make that as the procedure for now.
And Dana, do you feel comfortable screen sharing the latest revision since there was one that just came in?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want me to do that now or look?
Yeah, and is that dated today then? Is that?
I didn't look at the date. Did you see, Emily, if there was a date on that?
Yeah, there is a date on it, and I believe it's dated today.
Okay.
The stamp is now signed and dated today.
Okay. Makes sense. I just received it this afternoon. Let me see here. Okay, so share screen. Is where?
Should be at the bottom. If you hover over the bottom, a toolbar shows up. I can locate it.
I have too many things open. Let's try this. That's not it. That's not it.
I can try and find it.
Sorry.
If you can maximize your Zoom screen, Dan.
All right, now.
And then hover under the bottom. You should see a green button.
I got it for you.
All right.
Try that.
Yep, it's coming up.
Everyone got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So
go ahead, Emily.
Shall I use the similar platform? I'll go first and then have a little back and forth on answering of the comments. Liam?
Sure.
Oh yeah, that sounds great to me, Emily.
That's okay. So I was out in the field originally with Tessa and Dan and Mark on March 31st. At that time, some changes were made to flags in the field, and those were summarized to the commission in a brief email. Subsequent to that, I went back out to the site on April 7th with Dan to review some additional flagging that he had done. There were some modest modifications made in the field. I reported that back to the commission again via email, copying Dan on that as the representative. Subsequent to that, we received a revised site plan, and I had just a few, again, drafting comments for the commission and the applicant. And those comments were received, and we are looking at the revised plans based on those comments. The first comment that I had was that the plan was referring to the property as 18 Leverett Road, but on the ANRAD form, there's no street number assigned. Rather, the property is listed simply by map and lot. So we wanted to keep that consistent. And if you look on your lower right where Dan's zooming in, they've made that adjustment. The other comment I had was that the prior plan did not have a signature or a date. So if Dan scrolls up, you'll see that it was stamped by a surveyor, and now we have a signature and date. We seem to be running into this one a lot. So the easterly property line is not well marked in the field. So when a delineator is going out there, they're doing their utmost to stay within the subject parcel. In this case, after the survey went through, it was apparent that there were flags off the property. And in this instance, that's a property owned by, a private landowner who has nothing to do with the ANRAD. So my recommendation was that they be removed, or that the commission specifically not approve them under the ORAD. And I think we have a call out now that says that these offsite flags are not approved by the Conservation Commission.
Correct.
There was a concern I had with the southeast corner in relationship to flag 61. When we were out in the field, we thought we were on the property line, but we weren't. So in the last revision, they had shown a boundary going to the south, and it actually needed to go a little more to the east. So they did that adjustment. And the result is that it's clearly depicting that that entire southeast corner of the property is a wetland.
And it's not really shown on this plan, but topographically, we saw the work that's been going on in this property is fairly abrupt between the property boundary in this wetland here. So it's, would you agree, Emily? And at least up in this area up here.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the way that it's shown in that area. Yeah, there were some topography there.
Thank you.
Just scrolling down my comments. For clarity, the wetland that's 0.036 acres in the northwesterly portion of the property, if Dan can scroll down a little bit, that was a newly flagged resource area determined to be isolated. Because Shutesbury protects isolated wetlands under the bylaw, I wanted to make sure that it was clearly labeled as such for Tessa's benefit as she's working so diligently on these ORADs. I'm trying to make your life a little easier, Tessa. Do you see how my goal was on that?
Thank you.
So that label has been added, that it is an isolated wetland. And the larger wetland complex has now been labeled to clearly state that it's a bordering vegetated wetland. So protected under both the state and the local bylaw. There was a line type showing a 100-foot buffer zone, but it was labeled resource setback. So we made the request that it be defined appropriately in the legend as the 100-foot buffer zone, and then that a note be added that the 100-foot buffer zone is a protected resource area under the bylaw.
Did you see that note?
The note is there, and there's also it's in the legend if you look.
Okay.
I think that's how they added it. So over to the left.
Oh. Okay, I guess so. All the way over here. Oh. I'm not sure why it won't go any further. Where am I heading, Emily?
Down the legend. Yep. So it's not quite clean, but they did clean it up a little bit. It says 100, oh, up again. It says 100-foot resource buffer zone. So the commission's still gonna need that standard language that we have, Tessa, where you call out the buffer zone and the ORAD. Mm-hmm. And then the final comment that I had was both in the original narrative of the ANRAD as well as the revisions in the field, some of the flags are actually demarcating inland bank instead of BBW. And so I wanted the commission to have that information when you move forward with issuing the ORAD. And what they did was just a call out here. But it's a real nice job, Tessa, because when you get to the ORAD stage, you can just call out those flags.
Because there's a little meandering intermittent stream that goes through that BVW essentially.
Yeah, and so for the majority of the stream course, it's bordered by wetlands. And so the ANRAD is just defining the wetland boundary. But in some instances, the bank is adjacent to upland. So that's not a wetland flag, it's a bank flag. Mm-hmm. And we have those labeled now on the site plans, and those same flag numbers can be reflected in the ORAD. And that concludes the comments that I had. So based on this revision dated today, all of my comments have been addressed. So if the commission has any questions or comments, but I'm pleased with this plan and feel that it could serve as a final plan for an ORAD.
Great. I don't have any further questions. Mary or Miriam, do you have any questions? No. All right. Is there anyone from the public here, an abutter, who has any concerns? I can't see right now. Comments or concerns?
No, I don't. Besides, unless Dawn has any questions, no one else is here.
All right. Well,
do you want to go to the findings?
I think we need a vote to close the hearing first.
Yep. Good call.
Cool. So I'll go ahead and move that we close the public hearing for the ANRAD at lot H151, the Whiteman parcel. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Who wants it?
I'll second. Mary.
Okay, roll call vote. David.
Aye.
DeFont.
Aye.
Cregan. Aye. And Mark, would you mind sorry, Dan.
Yeah.
Do you mind stopping sharing your screen?
Sure.
So I can see. I don't have a functioning webcam, so I'm on my phone, so I can only see one person when the screen is being shared. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
I've been trying to update things a little bit as we've been going through, but I have not figured out that inland bank versus, so we'll have to adjust that.
I have all of those bank flags in a list for you, so I'll just rattle them off.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So we get to that. So the first, and we can rearrange the order if it makes more sense, but the first one is just, oh, and does this need to be bigger?
Yep.
This is directly from what Emily put together, the ones that are outside of the study area. Are there any I missed, Emily, or commission members?
Those are the ones I have.
Okay, that is what I took from what you wrote earlier. So then this is the first part, is what falls under both the act and the bylaw. And so here is just referencing the acreage because before it hadn't been labeled, but if it would make sense to, since it has been labeled on the maps as a bordering vegetated wetland, I can eliminate the acreage if that, depending on what.
Is F343R a flag?
No, that's a
To be 34R, but you have two.
Through 43R. Through.
Oh, 34R through 43R.
Yeah.
I just have an extra 3.
There you go. Awesome. Good call.
And Tessa, that just the next line up, bordering vegetated wetlands.
Oh, was I doing it again? Spelling it wrong.
That's a common spelling. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was doing it last time. I think
it's not the first commission meeting I've seen it at this week.
I think it's because I'm on so many, like working with so many boards. Like that's the board I think of.
Oh, right.
I go to.
And that looks good.
Okay.
Yeah. And you've got the inland banks right there.
Yeah.
You've got the flags F1 through F3, F5, F6, and F14 through F16. Yep.
Okay. Good to check. I guess I was doing it with this way. Okay. And then the last one is just about the isolated wetlands.
Yep.
I mean, should I say?
All right.
Does this look good?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Awesome.
Good stuff.
I approve.
Excellent. All right. So likewise, I'm gonna find. I also have quite a few tabs. Where's my override? Right. Okay. Very similar. So, and I'll have to just add that it is closing, which I think I failed to do the last other one, but I can do that easily enough. And then we corrected this part, got eliminated. And the new date is today.
And it's the same situation there that when you.
Oh, right, that we're gonna.
Yeah.
It's just. Okay.
And then under the ANRAD plan, you want to list the full title. So
right.
The title was the map and lot. And
so what?
I want to take that right off of the plan that came in today.
Yeah, I mean, it just says ANRAD plan. And then it has a, let's see what it has. It has a subheading. I think so. Map 16, okay. Where Where am I? Okay, does that?
Yeah, it has the date. It was prepared by SBE, and you have the title. Yeah. I know it seems tedious, but 5 years from now, when something comes up and Dan and I have to hunt through the plans and the commission, it's really helpful when these details are on the ORAD, and it's the same thing for the order of conditions. I have gone through some historic permitting where all they write is site plan or they leave it blank, and it creates a lot of trouble down the line.
You want to put the 18 Leverett Road there?
She's got it by map and lot.
Okay.
That's why they switched it to make it more in line from being at 18 to, so.
And then that S again, Tessa, there's an S.
Oh, yep. I don't know how that, it's funny that happened twice. All right. All right, any questions?
I just wanted to confirm, and I'm having a hard time bringing it up. Do we have the correct DP file number on that?
Let me check. 0286 281. That is what I wrote down. Yep, that, because I just looked. I have.
Okay, you have Mark's comment letter.
Yeah, I have Mark's comments.
Yeah, I was trying to pull it up while you were editing. It wasn't quick enough. Good. That looks good to me.
All right. Let me stop sharing. Awesome. Thank you.
I'm gonna give workshops on how to fill out ORAD.
Yeah, we're
in a public setting.
Practice.
All right, so I guess all that's left to do is vote to issue, right? All right, so I'll go ahead and move that we issue the ORAD for the lot H151, the Whiteman parcel.
I'll second.
All right, roll call vote. David?
Aye.
DeFont?
Aye.
And Cregan? Aye.
And then the one other question, Dan, before you drop off is, you need the version that has the filing. Are you going to file it, I guess, or is Mark going to file it?
Mark is going to file it.
Okay.
Yeah. So send it to the applicant's address, please. Thank you.
And do you want an email copy or not?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
All righty.
So well, 5 years from now when Emily and I have to dig back into it.
Okay. I hope not.
Okay, Dan, I know that Tessa sent you that email.
Yeah. We know that property pretty well by now. Thank you. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Thanks for joining me in the field, Tessa.
Yeah, I'd like to do it again. That was fun.
We have 2 more. I think we've cleared the deck on quite a few of our ANRADs. This commission has just been amazing with the amount of ANRADs that you've been bombarded with. So I think there currently is a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. I think we have 2 left to resolve. I haven't had updates on either of them, but I assume I'll get those when you do.
Sounds good. Thank you for all that you do.
Have a good evening, everyone. It was nice to see you all.
Me too.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well done.
So
yeah, this worked out.
I have 2 questions. Or for items not anticipated? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the comment about tree cutting on Lake Wyola, just as a point, since I live here too, the association doesn't really do anything to maintain the road here. They expect the individual people to take it and fill the potholes and do it. And this is my first real winter here. The roads, my concern is the roads were really bad, the potholes, and at times part of the roads were washed out, all of which is going down into the wetlands and into the lake and to the channel off the lake. So I have a major concern about, as I'm learning more about that, all of that is running off. So, you know, I do think a meeting with the board would be a good idea to talk about expectations. And the other piece that kind of goes with that is I did sit in on the LWAC meeting the other day, which got canceled because people didn't show up. There is a vacant position for a conservation commission member to sit on that, and I'd like to be the person to sit on that, because that too will help give us some insight into what's going on with the association. But
it's a great idea.
It does really need some more control based around what people are doing, and we're starting to see some of that, but there's still a lot of people doing what they want and not. I think it's borderline harmful to the environment.
You're not worried that your neighbors are going to all shun you, Mary?
I've been shunned, you know. I have already people asking me who I am and why am I sitting in on this meeting.
Oh, who are you?
I have no surprise that my name, I will be shunned too, but I live here full time now, and I also think it's a valid point that you can't have all the officers of your board of director be people who don't live here year round and have to address the issues year round. Like I said, the roads here were pretty bad. We had to send emails to people. I mean, the UPS trucks were getting stuck in the mud coming down the street. So
I had a thought that maybe it would be helpful. I mean, I would be curious to do this. I mean, we were talking about going out and looking, you know, kayaking, but the woman who came earlier, what was her first name?
Tracy.
Right? Tracy. Possibly reaching out to her and asking for a walk around, or to drive around and point out some of these areas, because, you know, if we're aware of the particular areas that are problematic, then, you know, we can also keep an eye on things at times.
That would be a good idea. I mean, that's a good idea. Tracy has more of a history than I do right now. I have a history just because when I wasn't here, my son Jonathan was here, so he was involved in a lot of things that went on as part of the committee back then. But it has taken a whole different swing, and it does support letting people do what they want. And I do think they should have some oversight truly as to what's going on, rather than just keep passing it off, because there are definitely some issues.
Mary, is Clark Excavating still maintaining your roads?
No, I actually don't know nobody's maintaining it as far as I can see. When we complained, somebody came down and put some rock down in one area and dug up and put some stuff down in the other area. But
so that was a big problem in the past, is there was no consistent contractor work, you know, clearing the roads, plowing the roads. Sometimes culverts were put in without consulting between neighbors. As Ms. McLaughlin mentioned, the use of sediment basins. There's a couple of them, and I don't think permits were drawn on any of those. And that was an issue before with DEP.
Yes.
Was there ever any enforcement?
I don't think so.
I mean, basically right now, you know, because I did write a letter to complain, because like I said, I mean, people were it was so muddy, the trucks were getting stuck on the street, and then everything was washing out again. And so the same holes would be back again, and all along those sides are wetlands on the side of the road. But but they're as of right now, my understanding, their opinion is that people should fix the area in front of their houses, and that's their responsibility to fix the potholes in front of their houses, which is nice. But if you're part-time and you're not up here most of the winter, you don't, you're not fixing potholes. They will have days, here's a day to go clean up and go fill them in, but
you can't ask elderly residents to go out and wheelbarrow gravel and dig things out with shovels, and it's just unreasonable. It requires equipment.
Yes, and it's been an issue back and forth for a while, and for a while Hillman was taking his tractor and going up and down the street, but he's 90 years old and can't do that anymore, so that's not helping. But I would like to join as the conservation committee to the advisory committee, because that might help with some of this too.
Yeah, that would be great. I think it'll open up a line of communication between us and them.
Mm-hmm. Does the commission want me to invite Donna West? I believe that's the, president, head of.
Yeah, she's the president right now.
President. I didn't remember what the term was. Do you want me to invite her to the next meeting? To have it on the next meeting's agenda, or further on? I can see whether.
I kind of like more the idea of just establishing a connection through Mary, and then opening up the conversation more organically rather than formally. I don't know how other folks feel.
I think that if we want something to really change, I don't know, I think Mary can be a liaison, but I think, they probably need to hear that they might risk an enforcement issue. If they don't hear that, they're probably going to keep taking the path of least resistance because they've been doing it for years.
I do think you should give Donna the opportunity to come to the committee and hear the issues that have been brought to our attention, and we'd like to talk to you about them.
And Donna's role is?
She's the president of the association.
Okay.
Which the board of directors tend to do a lot of things without informing all of the membership people too, which is what Tracy was referring to. But Donna's the president right now, and I think she should hear that there's people that have issues. She should know the road issue, and she should know some of these other things going on.
They're collecting dues, and if they're collecting dues and spending money, then you have every right to sort of insist that they're not filing RDAs for cutting trees down. I mean, that's just informational. You're just sharing information with them.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that makes sense then. So maybe we can ask Donna if she wants to come to the next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be good to invite her to come, and as long as she doesn't, I don't want it to come back on Tracy about the complaints, as long as complaints stay confidential, and generically address issues.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's an open meeting.
That's what I was just thinking. She can go read the minutes and figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I've been saying public comment and not stating a specific name, but
Mary, do you know if
nice, because there's a history with the association that goes back where anybody that takes a stand has been blackballed, and that's why a lot of people won't belong now. It's been an issue for a long time.
Did anybody ever figure out last year what was causing the contamination in the lake that caused the outbreak?
Which is an interesting question, because I sat in on the Board of Health meeting too for another reason, but and they were talking a little bit about that because the concern. So I think the Board of Health has some idea as to what caused the contamination, but no, it hasn't been really shared out with people. And the other issue, this is part of the other issue, that so when they were talking about posting the beaches, and if the contamination occurred, how would the Lake Wyola people do it? And the answer is from the association, we sent an email out to everybody to tell them. Well, the fact of the matter is that probably less than half of the people belong to the association, which means nobody gets the information. And they don't belong to the association because of these behaviors that we're describing. So people are not joining. So, you know, there's not always communication to the point. Not everybody here probably knows the rules, because there's only communication to those people that have chosen to pay their dues and belong to the association.
So the Board of Health has an idea, if that's your sense?
The Board of Health should know what it was, because they were talking about what they would do if it happened again and how to do that. So yeah. I made the assumption that they know.
A child got sick.
What happened? I think that's also why you have so many people on the other side of the lake that have put in to replace septic systems. Is because there's been, you know, multiple failures, or the ones that they have there, you know, they're old and they're coming apart. And it's the properties that sit right on the lake that I think are having a lot of the issues.
Okay, so we'll invite Donna to come and we'll just have a discussion about some of the issues that have been raised then. And then we can go from there. And I think it's great that you're going to be joining as a liaison to keep that kind of like line of communication open.
And yes, she probably won't be happy about that. But I live here now too, so.
All right.
There's a lot more full-time people here.
Yeah.
People that are rebuilding their homes to be year-round places, and instead of
my light is not blinking. I know it looks like it's blinking. I don't know how to make it not do that.
Oh, mine does it sometimes.
It's just my laptop. It's gonna give me a migraine.
Well, I think we're all set, unless there's any
right.
anticipated business.
So let me just go back. So the committee will notify somebody that I'm going to join that committee as a real member, as a representative from the Conservation Committee.
I can do that.
You'll do that? Okay.
I can do that in the email when I invite her to the next meeting, if that makes sense to the commission.
So the email to the Lake Wyola Advisory Committee is different than the Lake Wyola Association.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
Yeah, I'm going to work on getting. I'm going to work on getting the other one too. But
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure then if I have an email for the Lake Wyola Advisory Committee then. If it's not the same as the association.
Yeah, I went down under. It's under membership under the committees.
Okay.
They have the stuff.
This is a town committee?
Yeah, it's a town committee.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a formal
Mark
committee.
Rivers is the chair. Okay.
Yeah, it's a formal committee that actually has a slot for a representative from the Conservation Committee on it.
Okay,
that's
understood now.
Vacant. Yeah.
Do you think it could?
We'll just recommend. Do you think we should make a vote on that before we leave tonight? I think we probably should.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll move that we vote to appoint Mary David to the Lake Wyola Advisory Committee as the Conservation Commission liaison.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Do I get to vote on my own?
I'm not sure if we can actually vote on this without.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
So maybe we'll need to wait till the next meeting.
She can't vote. It's not a conflict though.
Is it not?
No, because it's not like she's approving her own building permit.
And it's a representative to that committee from here.
Yeah,
right.
It shows that you're actually not being forced into the position.
Yeah.
Yes, it's voluntary. Somebody just appointed me. No.
Well, let's vote on it, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So roll call: David.
Aye.
DeFont.
Aye.
And Cregan. Aye.
And I mean, I guess that's a question. I can either send an email, or if it's better if it's coming from Liam as chair, that would what makes sense.
So should I get in touch with Mark Rivers? Because I just found there's Lake Wildlife Advisory Committee email on the town website. It's a Shutesbury email address.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll get in touch with Mark via that, and I'll copy both Mary and Tessa on that email.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
That sounds great. I appreciate that you're willing to do that, Mary.
See what more kind of trouble I can cause.
Gotta make a note before we leave this meeting, otherwise it will not happen.
And I have to say that take photos if you see those kind of sediment issues that you were describing. Document it. I think that would help.
Yes, I'm going to take. I know Tracy does. I'm going to take photos too. But yeah, I've been walking up and down the road trying to find out what did you. Who did you get permission from to do this?
Betsy.
Okay. So, any other items to discuss?
Nope.
All right. Well, in that case, I will move that we close this meeting at 9:14 p.m.
Second.
All right. Mary David?
Aye.
Miriam DeFont?
Aye.
And Liam Cregan? Aye.
All right.
So
Have a good night.
We're meeting on the 6th, right?
13th?
What?
But yeah, we have 3 weeks off because there's 5 weeks in April, or 2 weeks off. Yeah, no, it's 3.
All right. Okay.
There's 5 weeks in April, so we're not meeting till the 13th.
Okay. Maybe we should just think about if we're going to do this Southbrook conservation thing, if there's bad weather or something, you contact us.
Yeah, let's just keep an eye on it and we can talk about it closer to that weekend.
Okay. Sounds good.
Great.
It happens. Awesome. We've been getting snow.
I know, that's right.
Yeah, there were snowflakes here in the lake today.
It's a good point. Eye on the weather.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Don.